Today, we are going to be talking about the mystery of the LEGO minifigure head. Now you say, why is the LEGO minifigure head so mysterious? And I ask you, do you know the origin of the LEGO smiley face? So as you can tell, from the LEGO minifigure book, year by year, they only talk about the LEGO minifigures. Look, from, oh, that did not sound good. From the 80s, to 90s, to somewhat of 70s. The only thing that they really talked about was how they actually started to create the actual LEGO minifigure to what we see today. We had these weird kind of head and legs and stuff like that with some, I don't know, some eraser head LEGO plastic things. I don't know what the heck what they were thinking. For what we need to know, the history of the minifigure origin. I tried to look further for the LEGO Standing Tall book of 30 years of the LEGO minifigure. Anyway, it's just like another Bionic ripoff, like Hero Factory. This is the same gosh dang freaking page! And you know what? I'm starting to realize when I actually started looking at the pictures, these don't even have all the themes in it. This is where our mystery begins. In the LEGO minifigure title of the LEGO book, it talks about the LEGO minifigure. One of their facts says, minifigures have feet and leg holes to let them connect to LEGO bricks while standing or sitting. Wow. Their heads have a stud on top to attach hair, hats, helmets, or other LEGO pieces. A stud. A stud on their head. But why? And how? Because, like, most of our minifigures nowadays have holes in them. As we can tell, we have tons of these smiley faces heads besides, you know, these tan ones that we don't want to talk about today. But, as you can tell, they are right. LEGO heads that had smiley faces also used to have studs on them. So, why did they get rid of them? Now, most of our normal figures nowadays, like Star Wars figures, mostly have these holeless, triad kind of looking holes. When I first saw this, I thought they were gonna, like, you know, reduce prices, like cutting off the amount of cardboard they use for the sets. So, and they, you know, got like $1 million back or something, like a lot of money. So I thought this is what this was. However, as you can tell, this LEGO Star Wars head in particular actually says LEGO on the top and is a solid hole. And these figures, these heads are actually part of the clones. You can tell right here. The only logical explanation I was able to find about these LEGO heads from the stud old days when you see the LEGO heads, which also explains why LEGO heads never had the LEGO sign on top of here. And they actually used to have it because they actually had a stud on it back then. So I guess our question is, does anyone really know why they added holes in there? I really haven't found real confirmation evidence. Not even the LEGO books have sources about them, but usually from what I looked online for, they said that it was a choking hazard for kids. Like a child somehow swallows the LEGO head, then they can be able to breathe still, because, you know, the holes, and like sometimes they'll go on and off apparently now from the LEGO minifigure series. Now if I look at my LEGO minifigure collection, look, it's true. So, this is one of the LEGO minifigures most collectible unknown characters for the blue series. One of the light blue series. I don't know which one. Anyways, as you can tell, it is a solid line. It does not have the actual LEGO stud on top. Yeah, it has marking inside the actual LEGO head. So what does this mean? That all LEGO minifigures are no longer correct? Are they from a different dimension? Or are they just, like, not even LEGO minifigures, or like LEGO Mega Blocks all of a sudden? So, we have recently discovered that the LEGO head is no longer just a normal LEGO head. It has 3 different versions. One with a stud, one with a tri-head, and one that's just covered up, not like a stud. So let me give you some content before we move on. First of all, in order to save, like, your idea or something like that, people want to get patented before you, like, release something. Basically, it's a copyright that expired. So, the reason why we see Mega Blocks, this weird looking thing, that's legally, because the patent has expired, and other people can kind of make their own version of the LEGO brick. I mean, I would think that they can't use the exact original of their idea of the suction cup. There's only one more piece to discover, when did they change the Lego minifigure head to the stud head and then to the Shry head? So, in this box, I have a lot of old Lego minifigure pieces, not ordinary pieces from the past. But yeah, if you see like 2000 or like really new kind of Lego themes, and you're like, hey, I thought you said this was old, because I kind of combined this old series of like someone else's collection in a new series. Yeah, by the way, these are also the pieces that are kind of rare. But I'm not going to go into that today. So, we've technically got 3 bags of collections. I mean, this one's kind of 2 collective mix. And the only reason why I didn't put this all in one bag is because the history of each someone's collection matters to me. If you were to rebuild a character, let's say this, oh gosh, if you wanted to rebuild, or I guess you can say restore a Lego minifigure, you wouldn't want to use like an old, like a new Lego Black Hand from an actual old Lego Black Hand if you're missing one. So what I'm trying to say, if you don't have like one Black Hand from the time, you just use another new Black Hand, you know, from like the Star Wars Force Awakens. There's the specialness to it, so you kind of want to get it as exact as possible. And the second reason why I keep these in different bags is because this is from different time zones. And what I mean by that is this guy has a lot of future on sets. Probably tells me that he was in the 80s, like 70s, 80s almost. And the important of this is I can tell what kind of figures that they had during this time. Like, oh, like he came out with a pirate during this time, like he was playing with that. Or like, for example, some of the figures I have wasn't able to complete was a Lego castle guy, like some kind of like bow and arrow guy, some knights guy, you know, evidence of an older time too with the paper like torsos. So, they actually first started with the Lego blank head, and what that means is that they never actually started with the Lego smiley face. They ended that technically in the 80s, but they didn't first come out with a smiley face. As we can tell in this guy's collection, late 70s and early 80s, we can tell a head used to have no face. As you can tell, on the top one I am rotating, there is no face. I'm not editing this out, you can tell that there is no face. The Shry Lego head didn't come out in the 70s, so could it come out in the 80s? Well, I had to look back into the book for that. We need to figure out when did Lego make themes and sub-themes. More importantly, they didn't make Lego Town. So the main grip of the reason why they made the actual minifigure itself was to create town people. And the greatest example of this is back when they didn't even have a Lego minifigure. You just have regular town people. And as you can tell, it's just town. It's just all town. When they first started off, there was like firefighters, police people, you know, regular people, nurses, space guys, but that's the only reason why, because we're going to the moon. Anyways, the point is, Lego always made Lego City / Lego Town minifigures and themes. So when they at least started to branch off like Lego Pizza and stuff like that, Pizzeria, or like Blacktron or Knights or something like that, we did get some kind of variety. And during this time, the Lego minifigure head smiley face no longer was a smiley face and was more of a custom minifigure to give us more variety. And then we really started kicking in the 90s. Classic Space, Futuron, Divers, Adventurers, Crisis News Cruise, Wild West, Lego Sport, Hydronauts, Aquarators, Aquasharks, Aquanauts, Launch Command, Lego Cypress, Ninja, Arctic, Extreme Sports, Beatron, REO, Q, Ice Planet, Racetrack, Time Cruisers, UFO, Castle, Newcastle, Pirates, Horsemen, Mtron, and Explorians. Oh, thank God. Most people that lived in the 90s, I remember reading on Reddit, they were wondering why back then they had the heads, the one with headless, like the holes, and then now we have kind of that still, but we're going back to the studs. The only reason why that he explained was because it was the differentiation rate from the 70s, 80s, and then 90s, and then the 2000s. But that doesn't make sense. So if you're mass manufacturing a LEGO minifigure, especially the LEGO minifigure head, and you had an old LEGO minifigure head design back then, and then you also have a new LEGO minifigure design with a custom printed face on it, it's going to cost a lot of money arranging both things. So if you were just to make a smiley face with that same new model, it's just going to save more money, obviously. And if they did do that, it would make a lot more sense that we have 90s heads coming out with the headless triad heads. So this indicates that the LEGO heads came out during the 90s and then spread to the 2000s and are starting to end now and reappear at times because of the new requirements of, safety. So I hope this kind of makes sense about the mass manufacturing, the separation of the 90s, and the toy regulations. I think I have solved the LEGO mystery minifigure head. If you want to tell me anything that you found out or you figured out or whatever, comment down below. And one thing I will tell you, if you're buying from a retail seller, make sure they have the right LEGO minifigure head. Bricklink, they actually tell you if it's a stud or one with a a hole on a stud. Anyways, I thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys still subscribing to me somehow. I'm going to try to do more of these kind of history videos because nowadays there's a lot of LEGO hauls, and I could be doing a lot of LEGO hauls, guys. I mean, look at all these old LEGOs. I don't want to do that, or reviews, because I suck at reviews and there's just too much of them. Something really random, I'm doing a stop motion, so a collab, and whatever. Have a great rest of your week.